Welcome back, everyone, to POP Podcast. Today, we are taking a deep dive into the life and career of a true entertainment legend, Richard Chamberlain.
A name and a face so many of us grew up with.
Exactly. And sadly, we're looking back following his passing at the age of 90.
A long life and an even longer career.
That's what's so fascinating. We're talking decades in the spotlight, from the early days of television to miniseries, movies, even stage work, so many iconic roles. But I think our mission today is to go beyond just listing those highlights and really try to understand what made him such an enduring presence. What was it about Richard Chamberlain that resonated with audiences for so long?
Yeah, I think that's key. And his career really does mirror so many of the shifts we've seen in entertainment over the past, 60 years? I mean, think about it. He starts with this very specific image, the young, handsome doctor, and then evolves with the medium itself, right? He becomes this king of the miniseries when that format explodes in popularity. So I think there's a lot to unpack there, not just about him as an actor, but about how audience tastes and storytelling itself evolved alongside his journey.
Right. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Dr. Kildare, 1961 to 66. This was more than just a show. It was a cultural phenomenon. And Richard Chamberlain, as Dr. James Kildare, became the heartthrob. I mean, what was it about that role, that moment in time, that really launched him into superstardom?
Well, you have to consider the landscape of television at the time. Medical dramas were really gaining traction, right? This idea of combining human drama, life and death stakes, but with this sort of reassuring figure at the
A
center.
doctor you could trust, yeah.
Exactly. And Chamberlain embodied that perfectly. But it was more than just the doctor, it was him. He had this youthful energy, earnest, empathetic. It just captured something about the early 60s, a certain idealism, maybe. I mean, he even won a Golden Globe for it in 63, Best TV Star. It really shows how much he connected with viewers.
Yeah. And even years later, there's this quote from a 2021 interview where he talks about Dr. Kildare as his absolute total dream come true.
You can feel that genuine love for that time in his life even decades later.
Totally. But here's the thing. When you achieve that kind of success so early on, what drives you to then step away to try something different, like film? I mean, it would be easy to just ride that wave of Dr. Kildare for as long as possible.
And many actors do. They become almost synonymous with that one role. But Chamberlain's move into film in the 70s shows a real ambition, I think. A desire to stretch himself, to avoid being typecast.
Yeah.
He starts with Julius Caesar in 1970, playing Octavius Caesar.
Talk about a change of pace.
Right. And he's acting alongside Charlton Heston, Jason Robards.
Yeah.
These are heavy hitters. It's like he's making a statement, hey, I'm more than just a pretty face. And then you see him in The Three Musketeers a few years later, all swashbuckling and adventure. It's like he's actively trying to break free from that early image.
Okay, but from Shakespeare to sword fights with Raquel Welch, that's a wild swing. And then throw in The Towering Inferno, this big disaster movie. I mean, he was all over the place, genre-wise. Do you think his TV experience helped him in that transition to film, or did it maybe create obstacles?
It's an interesting question. I mean, television at that time, especially those weekly series, was a training ground like no other. You were constantly working, honing your skills, learning to be present, and engaging on camera.
Yeah.
But film, especially back then, required a different kind of presence, a way of filling a much larger space. So I think he had to adapt, and the fact that he was successful in so many different genres speaks to his versatility. He wasn't just repeating what worked on TV, he was understanding the unique demands of each project.
So if you're as fascinated by Richard Chamberlain's journey as we are, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to uncover, and we don't want you to miss out.
And that brings us to what many consider the peak of his career, the 1980s.
The era of the miniseries, he was basically the king of them.
And for good reason. Think about Shōgun in 1980, then the Thorn Birds in 83. These weren't just TV shows, they were cultural events. Families would plan their evenings around these broadcasts.
It was appointment viewing.
Exactly. And what's interesting is how these miniseries captured something about the changing landscape of television. They were longer, more complex stories, often exploring different cultures or historical periods. And Chamberlain was right at the forefront of that shift.
Yeah, I mean, Shōgun, this epic story set in feudal Japan, and then the Thorn Birds, with all that romance and drama.
And he won Golden Globes for both, which really says something. I think what made him so compelling in these roles was his ability to convey so much with such subtlety. Miniseries are these sprawling narratives, and he could hold your attention for hours just with a look, a gesture. It was a different kind of performance than what he did in Dr. Kildare. It was more internal, more nuanced.
And he even revisited that Thorn Birds character, Father Ralph, in a later TV movie, right? The Missing Years, I think it was called. That's a role that really stuck with people.
It did, and it speaks to the power of that miniseries format. There's something about the length, the depth of those stories that allowed viewers to really connect with the characters in a different way. And Chamberlain, as Father Ralph, became almost inseparable from that role for a whole generation.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, amidst all these romantic, dramatic roles, he also played Jason Bourne. I mean, talk about a curveball.
Right. The very first on-screen adaptation of The Bourne Identity was a TV miniseries back in 1988.
Right.
Of course, it's not the Matt Damon version we're all familiar with now, but it just shows his range. He was willing to jump into action, thriller territory, too.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid to experiment, to try new things. I mean, think about it. From Shakespearean tragedy, to a heartthrob doctor, to a Japanese warlord, to a forbidden love priest, to a secret agent, he did it all.
And then there he is in the 2000s, popping up in sitcoms like Will and Grace, The Drew Carey Show, even Desperate Housewives. I think that says a lot about his personality, too.
Yeah.
Willingness to not take himself too seriously, to have some fun.
It's endearing. And his final IMDb credit is for a 2019 film, Finding Julia. It's like he never stopped acting, never stopped exploring.
Amazing, isn't it? A career that spans so many decades. It really is remarkable.
And it wasn't just screen acting, right? He had that brief recording career.
A few albums, yeah.
And then there's the stage work. We mentioned My Fair Lady, but there was also that production of Breakfast at Tiffany's on Broadway opposite Mary Tyler Moore.
Which unfortunately closed during previews. That's the thing about theater. It's such a different beast. It can be brutal, even for established stars.
Yeah. But the fact that he was willing to try it speaks to his artistic curiosity, I think.
Totally. He wasn't just seeking fame. He was seeking challenges, new ways to express himself.
So beyond all these roles, beyond the Hollywood image, who was Richard Chamberlain? I mean, he was born in LA, grew up in Beverly Hills, but then there's this period of military service in Korea. He spent 16 months there, reached the rank of sergeant.
That experience must have shaped him in profound ways, especially at that age.
Yeah. And then you look at his personal life, his long-term relationship with Martin Rabbit. His partner's statement after his passing is so moving. He said, "Our beloved Richard is with the angels now. He is free and soaring to those loved ones before us. How blessed were we to have known such an amazing and loving soul."
It speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the fame, beyond the awards, there was this genuine love and connection. It's a reminder that these icons, these figures we see on screen, they're also real people with real lives and relationships.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the life and legacy of Richard Chamberlain, it's clear that he was so much more than just a sum of his roles. He was a testament to adaptability, to enduring talent, to connecting with audiences across generations. He really left an undeniable mark on the world of entertainment.
He did. And it makes you think, what was the key to that longevity? Was it that innate charisma? Was it his willingness to constantly evolve, to not be afraid of new challenges? Or maybe it was something else entirely, something less tangible.
Yeah, what makes a star truly endure? What creates that lasting connection with audiences?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We could probably spend another hour dissecting that. But I think in Chamberlain's case, it was a combination of factors. His talent, his choices, his genuine presence on screen, and perhaps a bit of luck too, but whatever the formula, he made it work. And he left behind this incredible body of work that continues to entertain and move people today.
So true. We really encourage everyone listening to revisit some of his work, maybe watch Shōgun or the Thorn Birds again, or even check out some of those later sitcom appearances. You might see them in a whole new light, knowing the full scope of his career, the full arc of his life.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We have so many more stories to explore, so many more icons to celebrate, and let us know in the comments what you think. Which Richard Chamberlain role resonated most with you? What other deep dives would you like to see us take on?
We love hearing from you, so keep those comments coming. And as you go about your day, maybe think about this. What does it really mean to be an icon? What qualities allow someone to transcend time and trends and leave a truly lasting impact? It's a question worth pondering.
Food for thought.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. We'll see you next time on POP Podcast.
Bye, everyone.